Manveer, along with the students, to please come forward for the national anthem. I request everybody to kindly rise for the same.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल वंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मागे गाहे तव जय गाता जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे जय हिंद.
Thank you. A very good afternoon to one and all. I, Sushmita Subudhi, on behalf of IIID Hyderabad Regional Chapter, take this opportunity to welcome you all to the second edition of I3 series. I extend a warm welcome to Vice Chancellor JNFAU, Dr. Kavita N. Kavita Daryani Rao ma'am. Especially ma'am was in a meeting and literally we had to pull her through the meeting, and I thank you so much ma'am for actually making it through. We have all the speakers, IID members, fellow managing committee members, working committee members, faculty and students from various colleges. I thank each one of you for having made it to this event. The Institute of Indian Interior Designers is the apex body for Indian interior designers in India and comprises of architects, interior designers, trade members, educationists and students. We are here with the second edition of I3 series, where practicing design fraternity will present their works and interact with the students. And this is where I request all the students to please keep your pen and paper ready, make points, try to see the kind of questions you people have in your mind, because after all the speakers speak out, towards the end there will be a question and answer session where you can put up your questions to various speakers, and that is where they will be answering your questions. So it is going to be a very fruitful session indeed towards the end, and you'll realize that you are going back with a lot of knowledge and memories. I request, and this is where I would request our IID chairperson, Architect Manoj Vahi, to kindly come forward and say a few words.
Good afternoon, everyone, especially all the young minds and students of design colleges spread across Hyderabad. I would like to thank the JNFU team for willing to host this event for the second time now. This is the second in the series of the I3 series, where we want to reach out to the young design students of all the colleges of Hyderabad and let them get exposed to the way design processes happen in reality. So you go through a process of design in college. It's exactly the same, but it actually translates into something which is real, rather than in your case, it's all about projects which, just lie on sheets. Here, things happen with someone's money, someone's effort, someone's dreams are turned into realities. So, we all know that no one can take learning away from you. Everything you can lose except your learning. So the whole idea of this session is to learn as much as you can from these three absolute, intelligent minds. So we have architects who are practicing architects. We have architects who are intelligent minds also. So I think most of the speakers whom we curate for this event are people, the architects and designers who are intelligent minds besides just being good architects. So they have processes, they work through their processes of design. They look at things in a more pragmatic way. It's just not about the aesthetics, what you get in the end of the project, but the whole process behind it, the whole experience behind the whole design which is being created. So we have very senior architects. I'll not name them. They're already on the board. You know about them. You'll hear about their introductions when they start to speak. So my only request is that, you should all keep your absolute eyes, ears, and your hearts open when you listen to them. Make sure that, this is a very important part of your education. We always feel that when we were growing up, were not so fortunate to have such sessions curated for us where, very top minds would come and express and show their philosophy, their design process, and even their life projects, some of which I'm sure you would have already visited or will be visiting after you see them. You'll be tempted to go and see those places, the way they've been done up. And like Jay Sidney said, education turns mirrors into windows. So I think that's so important that we look at the world outside, waiting for all of you when you get into the professional design field. You may be doing many things, but I think this education or this learning will always remain with you. So, I sincerely thank my managing committee for putting all this together, and we are really excited to collaborate with students and the entire fraternity of education, so that we want to make sure that they benefit as much as we benefit from this organization. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Manojji. It was from the IID chairperson, Architect Manoj Vahi. And now I would request our VC, JNFAU, Vice Chancellor Kavita Daryani Rao ma'am, Dr. Kavita Daryani Rao ma'am. I request everybody to kindly put your hands together to welcome our ma'am. And please, we need to hear a few words, ma'am, to address this august gathering.
Thank you, Sushmita. Good afternoon, everyone. Speakers for today, Chairperson, IIID HRC, EC members, warm welcome to everybody. Very happy to see students from not only our college, but several other colleges also gathered here. I can't tell you how important a session like this is. There is something in our education agenda called an institute-industry interaction. It means that practicing professions like ours, whether it is architecture or interior design, have very little significance in their education and syllabus curriculum coverage if they don't interact meaningfully with industry. It all remains theoretical. Just now, like Manojji was saying, it remains something which is only on paper. And sometimes when you don't have the opportunity of actually seeing how these designs materialize into real life, it becomes very difficult for you to imagine what kind of a form and shape they take and what is the process for that final evolution of the form, the colors, the textures, etc. It becomes very difficult for you to visualize this entire process. So this was the idea behind having this event, which IIID and JNFAU have been working on together. This is the second such session that we are having. That means you've already got the advantage of looking at 6 different eminent designers of the city, and they're going to explain to you how they put into place some of their projects. And I hope that insight which you're getting into their design processes, into the workings, will give you something extra from what you normally get in the classrooms and in the studios in the college. So this has been one of my very pet agendas in the MOU with IIID. I thank you for arranging the session today and bringing to us the eminent speakers, which include a very senior architect and designer. I'm so happy to welcome Yashwantji once again to the university, and our alumni, very popular and successful duo of designers, and our special guest interior designer Monica ji is also here. So you've got a very wide variety for you in this one session, and I hope you make the most of it. Please keep in mind what Professor Sushmita said. Write down the points that you really would like to remember and interact with the speakers about. I think it will be really fruitful if it's an interactive session rather than just a one-way thing. So thanks once again, and looking forward to a lovely session. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Especially the way ma'am has put through any kind of a class which happens within the four walls of the lecture hall is completely different from a session which is of this kind. And when we talk about I3, it is basically a birth which has taken place, this is the second edition, and it is basically taking the I5 series forward. I5 is a series again where 5 architects get a platform to show and show their journey of their works through, and then that happens in front of the IID members. Now, this is a platform which is given to the students who are not even members of IID and yet getting an opportunity to actually see their work and know their journey is something incredible which IID HRC has been doing. And kudos to IID HRC. And I'm really proud that we are actually members and we are actually trying a little bit. At this juncture, I would request Architect Manoj Vahi, Chairman IID, to kindly come forward to felicitate Kavita ma'am. Dr. Kavita Daryani Rao ma'am, I request you to kindly come forward. I request Aparna ma'am also, our IID NEC member, to also come forward. I'll take a minute of yours. I request all the speakers also to kindly come forward along with the MC members, IID MC members, to come forward and then join this group picture. It will remain forever. So to take this event forward, the first speaker for the day is Architect Yashwant Ramamurthy sir. A big round of applause. I'm sure many of you are already aware of sir, so much as I. So sir needs no introduction, but yet to start with, Architect Yashwant Ramamurthy sir established Studio One Architects in Hyderabad in the year 1979. The consultancy firm handles architecture, interior design, landscape, and heritage conservation projects with a core competence in the hospitality vertical. His firm is acknowledged amongst the 50 most influential practices in India. Architect Ramamurthy sir is a fellow member of the Indian Institute of Architects and Institute of Indian Interior Designers, in which he has held offices at the regional and the national levels. He edits publication for the Council of Architecture. Over several years, he has been engaged with academic pursuits as a teacher, juror, and advisor to various architectural institutions across southern India. He is the past chairperson of IID Hyderabad chapter and executive committee member of IIA Telangana chapter. Both guilds have conferred on him Lifetime Achievement Awards in recognition of his professional standing. He is currently on the Academic Board of Studies of JNAFAU, Hyderabad, and IIID School of Architecture, Hyderabad. He is a founder member of Crafts Council of Telangana. With the Hyderabad Design Forum, which he founded in the year 2016, he is researching, curating, and co-authoring a seminal monograph on the hitherto undocumented stepwells of Telangana. So the list goes on, but with huge round of applause. Please welcome our first speaker, Architect Yashwant Ramamurthy sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Are we ready to go? Yeah. So, good evening and thank you all for coming here. I'm absolutely overwhelmed by the large number of students that I see in the audience. Thank you, IIID, for hosting this event and inviting me for this very special occasion. I will cherish it a lot. Thank you, Kavita ma'am, for giving us this hall, which is a beautiful venue for all of us to meet. I am going to be presenting not so much about our work. You will be seeing our work, but I won't really be describing each and every component, each and every detail. It's not very often that I share our work on professional platforms and with fellow architects, but this was an opportunity that's very close to my heart because I feel that the most meaningful thing I can be doing at this stage in my career is to disseminate the knowledge that I've gained over the last 40 years of practice. So it's a great pleasure for me to be here. And without much ado, we'll start off. So all of us have been through schools, colleges, and I'm very briefly going to tell you about the school I went to, which is at the top of the page on the left side, the Hyderabad Public School at Begumpet. It was a very structured kind of education, very strict, very disciplinarian. It was a nice way of an all-round education. But at the time I was in high school, you were either aiming to join an IIT or you were aiming to become a doctor. So I remember when I told people that my lifetime's dream is to be an architect, they kind of slaughtered me and said, this guy is going to fail. I'd like to think that I've proven them wrong today. But that's what HPS Begumpet did for me. Then I went on to the picture on the right side top, which is my college at Bombay, Sir J.J. College of Architecture. Founded by the British government in the year 1860, it is the first and the oldest college of architecture. It taught me a lot. But then once I left college and went into practice, I realized, as Manoj was saying, that I really knew so little. The college hadn't taught me a lot. So despite the best of intentions, colleges can only go that far. It's up to you as an individual to push yourself into areas of practice to learn more what the college has not been able to teach. In many ways, shifting from HPS at Begumpet was a huge culture shock. Here I was at the age of 16, from sharing 170 acres in Begumpet with 300 students, and going to Bombay where you can't even have 1 centimeter of space between you and the next guy on a local train. This was culture shock, traumatic. It took me a whole year. I failed in maths because it's the subject I didn't like. I almost gave up architecture, but something pushed me along, and I'm glad it did. So JJ was a nice experience in other ways too. It taught me to learn friends, make friends with different kinds of people. We were 90 people in a class, and here I was from HPS where we were 17. So that itself was a very big culture shock for me, but we got over that. As you can see, both these buildings are very strongly formal, and I'm sure this goes into your subconscious in some way or the other. The formalism of the architecture that you've inhabited as a student, both in school and in college, in some way defines who I am today. I can't help get out of that. But then at the bottom is my office, very different, very simple, very unpretentious, I would say. I live on the ground floor, and our office is there on the first floor at the top. And this is our entrance lobby as you come in. We live in a time warp. This is a home that I inherited from my grandfather. We found no need to change it. It's fully sustainable. We don't use air conditioning. It's got a lot of light, ventilation, a lot of trees. People who come into the office say it has an energy. Despite the fact that by the textbook, the Vastu is wrong, I think that energy comes from the way that you also exude your own energy into a space. So this is where I come from. I'm a mixture of all these things happening. So soon after college, I went to the Crucible, Chandavarkar and Thacker in Bangalore. It was already a very established company. There you see on the right, my first salary slip, 400 rupees. I began my life in the year 1979, earning 400 rupees. So nothing is too small. And I'm saying this because a lot of architects come in to me soon after graduating, and practically the first question they ask is, how much are you going to pay as a salary? That is not important. I tell them, are you coming to my office to learn or to earn? If you're coming to learn, stay. If you're coming to earn, please leave, because you can earn a lot of money in other places. You may not learn as much. So keep this in mind, please. The other thing that CNT taught me was the beauty of making working drawings. You can see the picture on the top. This was made, I think, over 43 years ago. The beauty of doing a working drawing, the importance of doing a working drawing. And in all this, I was taught always to put myself into the position of someone who's actually executing at site. Imagine you're a carpenter. The drawing that you're making for a door at the window, will you be able to execute that looking at the drawing that you've made? If you can't, then you know that you've not made an accurate working drawing. The other thing is with design. Clean, simple lines. This was the first design project that I handled on my own. This was in Trivandrum. And you can see the simplicity and the beauty of it. Again, considering this was 43 years ago, I think it was in some ways way ahead of its time. Both these drawings are done by hand. And that's the beauty of a handmade drawing. I'm afraid today all of you are using computers. It has their own advantage and disadvantage. But believe me, there's no substitute to holding a pen, holding a rotring, holding a paper, and actually working on paper. So from there, I moved to Iran, and I worked in a company called Architects Cooperative in a place called Nishabur. We worked as town planners here in Iran. We were sent off to do master plans of the smaller cities. I worked in this master plan of the city called Nishabur. You can see that it's a shanty town. And we came up with master plans based on the needs of people. More than ever before, this taught me that architecture is all about human beings. We were actually told to go into house by house, village by village, find out who's living there, how many people live there, what their income is, what their food habits are, and come up with a master plan that actually fits the bill. It also taught me to admire Islamic architecture. You can see there's a small monument here on the left. So I came back to India enriched with the knowledge that I gained about architecture and traditions of a different kind that I was not really exposed to. So this was my second job. But coming now to two projects, both these projects are neither interiors nor strictly architecture. To me, I've never been able to differentiate the two. You cannot, and you should not try to say this is an architectural project, that's an interior project. You can't imagine an interior unless you know the architecture. You can't design a building and say this is my architectural model without actually living on the inner space. So there is a very slim line that divides the two. So this was a project in Secunderabad where 3 clients came into my office one day, all of them your age. They must have been 23 or 24, and said, we want you to design a restaurant for us. I didn't take them seriously. And they found this old dilapidated building in the cantonment. It was the only one they could afford because the owner had not maintained it. So we drove off there, and they were excited because the rent was very low. It was only 25,000 rupees a month. That's the only reason they wanted it. But when I went there, my hair stood on end because I realized that this building has so much potential. It's a historical building. So although I was taken on board to design the interior, I couldn't say, let's ignore the exterior. The exterior was such an integral part of what the interior was going to become. So we began on this journey of restoring this building. The first thing is to do is to look for history. And if you look deep enough, we found a picture of this building as it existed in the year 1840. And lo and behold, we found another picture of the interior. And we realized that the Secunderabad Club actually began here. It was in this building that the Secunderabad Club began before they moved to the building that Salar Jung had. And again, my hair stood on end because a lot of furniture that you see in this picture on the right continues to be there in the ladies' room and so on of the Secunderabad Club. So this was very, very exciting, and I felt that whatever we're doing on the interior must in some way reflect what history taught us. And I began to respect history. So this is how the interior looks. We stayed with the columns. We played with a little bit of lighting at the base. We respected the arch at the end. That was a very classical arch. And the fact that this was a huge volume of space was very interesting, and we created this interior here. We took inspiration for lights that you see, which are hanging from the roof. These are cylindrical lights, and they are made out of cloth. And right in the center of each of these cylinders, if you look carefully, you'll see a longer white one. Those were speakers. So this restaurant was going to be called Utsav. And here I must tell you that when you're designing an interior, it's not just design and leave. We get into all kinds of things, even thinking up of a name, doing the logo, designing the uniforms, designing the table linen, all the creative work that goes into it, despite the fact that it's not architecture nor interiors. That is really very holistic design that I'm talking about. So you can see how we restored, and we did get an award by INTAC for restoring an old building. But we use new technologies like lighting, and lighting can make or mar an architecture project or an interior project. It creates a mood. This is what we call mood lighting, and in some areas inside you will see what we call task lighting. So I won't spend too much time on this. There was a mismatch between the word Utsav, which is a very strong Indian word, and the fact that this was a colonial building 150 years old. How do you reconcile the two? So what does Utsav mean? It means festivity. It means festival. So we thought to ourselves, what are the connotations of festivity? And what came to mind was silk. Most ladies and men wear silk kurtas, silk saris with zari on it for a festival. What came to mind was music. So we curated the music that was going to be played here. What comes to mind is light. We all light diyas in the house. We light up the buildings. So these three elements of music, silk, and light is something that we use to change a colonial building into a very Indian kind of a restaurant. But everything moves on. The restaurant had to wind up because the center of the city moved from Secunderabad and Hyderabad into road number 36 and beyond. So the clientele dried up, but the space was still there, and it got converted into a Moksh banquet hall. This is now, you can see it's stripped bare of all the elements that we had, and we've given it little touches. Then the second building that I'm showing you is a very simple building. This is called Living with Nature, and the fact that there is beauty in humility. This is a farm that we did in Medchal. Interesting story is that we used to see this couple walking past our office every evening with a pram. And they would stop outside the gate and stare. And on the third or fourth day, I asked them to come in, and they were very, very thrilled to come into this old house that I live in. And they looked up at the ceiling, and they looked at the floor, and they looked at the walls and said, this is what we are dreaming of having at our farmhouse in Medchal. So here was a chance to do something totally with old technologies and totally sustainable. So this is the plan. And the plan, as you can see, is designed around 2 courtyards. The bedrooms are all in the south and the west end of the building. The entrance is in the northeast, and there is a puja room that projects out. And there's a kitchen in the southeast. So the family for whom we designed this were also very keen about Vastu being followed. And this gave me a chance to look at Vastu not as a superstition, but to look at Vastu as a science. And as we go along, you'll see how we've turned the scientific reasoning of Vastu into something practical. So I'm very proud to say that not a sack of cement was used in this house, not a rod of steel was used in this house. We made the brick on site. We created a kiln. All the brick was made at site. Lime mortar was made at site for this. Wood was bought from a government auction where you can go and buy wood that's been confiscated from smugglers. So everything about the materials that we used in this house was sustainable. The tiles, of course, came from Newsweed. And we got a few of these old pillars carved at site from granite that we found on a hillock, not even, I would say, 150, 200 meters away from here. There is no plastic in this building at all. The picture at the bottom left, as you can see, has a band going across. We create these bands, one at the lintel level and another one at the sill level. And in those, we put in plastic pipes. So all your electrical conduiting runs horizontal at two levels of the house, the lower level for the switches and the upper level for the fittings. So when we talk about the science of Vastu, this is a picture on the left looking into the kitchen. As you can see, the dining hall is relatively dark, but suddenly there's a brightness in the kitchen. Where does the brightness come from and why? The kitchen, as we all know, is in the southeast corner. You've been told that by Vastu Pandits. Why is it in the southeast? Because in the morning, when the sun rises from the east, it has what we know as ultraviolet properties. And if that light enters into the kitchen with ultraviolet properties, it kills the bacteria. And therefore, the food that you cook and you prepare and you store there remains fresh for longer. Each and every part of Vastu can be analyzed like this in very simple scientific terms. So if a Vastu Pandit is going to tell you, if you don't put the kitchen here, your mother-in-law will die, or your daughter won't get married, that's all bullshit. Don't believe him. Okay? So analyze each of these scientifically, and then Vastu becomes fun. It doesn't become an enemy that you battle. It becomes fun to try and recreate. So like this, every single room in this house, as you can see, is brightly lit. They don't use tube lights in this room till 6:30, 7 o'clock in the evening. How did we do that? When we were doing the roof, we left out the Shabad stones. The roof, as you can see, is made out of timber beams, timber rafters, and Shabad stone put one on top of the other. We left them out and created skylights. There are 3 skylights facing east and 3 skylights facing west. So at any given point of the day, there is natural light entering this kitchen. This shows you what the insides looked like. Very unpretentious, everything left exposed, nothing plastered. There is a joy in this house. The joy comes from the fact that there is so much light, ventilation, so much elbow room to grow in. As we were building this house, the owners kept saying, when you're building the outer brick walls, don't put in every brick. Randomly leave out bricks here and there. And I wondered why. When I went there a year later, there were squirrels living in some of those apertures. There was sparrows living in the other. So they literally live with nature. They don't mind if the snakes come in. They don't mind if the scorpions come in. What this family says is, this is their space. We are taking it away from them. Let's make friends with them and let's all live happily in this home. And I think that really is sustainability. The flooring, I forgot to tell you here, is ordinary tandoor stone, unpolished. And here's a picture of the roof structure on the right. There are rafters going across, and that is simple 2 feet by 2 feet tandoor stone placed there. The staircase going up has granite, just slabs of granite inserted between 2 parallel walls. And there are arches. The arch is also made out of brick itself, but the brick wasn't a very good quality, so we actually plastered it just as a precaution. So here are views of this house. You look down into courtyards. There is a room where the lady of the house plays her piano on the first floor. She is a classical musician. She actually is a Finnish woman from Finland. And if you go into this house, you can hear Beethoven's symphony coming to you from one side. You can hear birds chirping on the other. You can hear the cows mooing somewhere else. So it's really very idyllic kind of living. Incidentally, this house, they're very open to people going. So if you really want to go onto their website. It's called Govardhan Farm at Medchal. You'll have to make an appointment and go there. It is true sustainability in many, many ways. I'm not even going into what they do with the water, what they do with the drainage. But all the cow dung, all the manure, everything comes from the farm. It's generated from the farm. Above all, there's a feel-good factor about this house. The compound wall was made out of simple leftover materials after the construction was finished. We also had some tandoor stones and bricks left over, so we made a composite column out of them. Nothing was wasted. So a picture on the left shows you the house, picture taken soon after we finished it. They had just planted trees, as you can see. There are small saplings, but today the saplings have grown, and the trees have taken over the environment. The microclimate of this place is controlled by nature. So here it is, living with nature. They have animals. This picture of the two horses is a recent one. During the COVID lockdown, when people who owned these horses that they rented out for weddings, they could no longer feed and sustain them, so they would just take them and leave them on the road. People would call this family and say, there's a horse here that doesn't have a home. They would go and adapt the horse and bring it back, and now they've started teaching riding to all the little children in the villages all around. Sustainability is also about creating jobs. So all the villagers who live here actually work on the farm. It's their farm. So when you create jobs for people right where they live, then they're not spending energy, they're not spending fuel to go into the city, wasting time to do that. They're sitting in an environment close to their home where there is place for their kids to play. It's like a creche. And they're earning their livelihood there. So this family also sells organic produce that they make, and they have a website for that. But things move on, and these are some of our recent projects. We're not always caught in a time warp. There are 2 homes here that you see and a restaurant that's coming up at Gandipet. So we do make use of technology. We do change the way we think. We use new materials. We try shell roofs. We try cantilevers, all this kind of thing, just to bring our practice up to date when it's required. So we are coming to the end, and every firm, I think, has an ideology. This is a rendered image of a house that we're just about to start. It's not a greenfield project. We are giving a makeover to an existing house in Sainikpuri. And this project is being handled in my office by 4 people, the senior most of whom is going to be the project manager. And we have 1 architect who's going to do the architecture, 1 architect on the interiors, and 1 architect on the landscape. This is a new way of working, and we find that it's very successful. So what we do is to cooperate. We collaborate with other engineers who are coming in, and we all create together. And we do this with expertise, efficiency, and ethicality. This is very important because you have to build a name for yourself, and I think the way forward is this. So this wouldn't have been possible without the help of my entire team. This is a picture taken just about 25 days ago at Dasara. Everyone decided to look like peacocks that day, so this is all of us sitting there. And I must tell you that all of them, including my wife Bharti here, are what has helped me not merely make a living out of architecture, but to make a life in it. And with those thoughts, thank you very much for being here. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. It is always nice to hear from sir, and especially in that little time, sir spoke about the entire journey he had been through, be it his fear from mathematics, which I'm sure 80% of the students sitting here have, and yet the kind of milestones sir has achieved. So everybody can relate to, be it the mathematics, be it the working drawing, the relevance of working drawing, the rotring pens, something which we always insist as academicians that do not use regular pens, but use rotring pens, because that is where you get to know about the line weights. About the journey in terms of Utsav, because something with Secunderabad Club renovation work with sir is working right now, and yet the very beginning, the Utsav, I'm sure that building is no longer Utsav now, but at least when 20 years back we used to enjoy our lunch and dinner there. It was a beautiful building, and now as it has been transformed into Moksh Banquet Hall. Be it the Medchil Govardhan farmhouse, it's really nice to know that they're entertaining students. So I'm sure very soon we'll be taking our students, and I'm sure the other faculty would love to take their students to this place to actually see sustainability in its true form. It was indeed a pleasure hearing from you, sir. It was very nice. Thank you so much, sir, for actually giving up your time like this. This is where I would also like to call upon our sponsor for the event, because any event of this kind would not be possible without the help from the sponsors. And this is where I would like to call Mr. Kasinath of Ved Group. Thank you so much for your help and for your sponsor here, for which this event could be made possible.
Yeah, very good afternoon. Before I take you through the presentation, behalf of Ved Electricals, I wish everybody here belated Happy Diwali and advance Happy New Year. May you prosperous and grow in your instinct in your future. Thank you. And Ved Electricals, Ved Electrical started in the year 1976. In these 46 years, we transformed from the traditional lighting to the conceptual lighting. So I would like to take you through the presentation. Our locations currently scattered across Telangana and one portion of Vijayawada, in Secunderabad, Gachibowli and Jubilee Hills. And we do indoor lighting, home decorative lighting, and standliers, customized LED linears, magnetic tracks and profiles, landscape lighting, facade lighting, and outdoor lighting. So it's an A to Z lighting solutions which will be available at Ved Electricals. And we are channel partners to Philips, and Targetti is an Italian lighting company which is famous for architectural lighting, and Siemens is more famous, and it's an Italian outdoor lighting company. And we do with Vendo, it's a Japanese LED lighting company, and Nirvana Light is an architectural lighting which is made in India, which is developed as a concept of Mr. Narendra Modi as Made in India concept, which is based upon Mumbai based. And DG Opto, which is very specialized in linear lighting, only in linear lightings. We are the channel partners for all the 6 companies. And before taking you through our projects, would like to take you through some small glimpses on color temperature. The typically lights will be measured as kelvins, which is called as color temperature, correlated color temperature. It starts with 2500 K, which will be an orange color, and next color temperature will be 3000 K, which is warm white. Mostly you can visible this at jewelry shops. All the jewelry shops will be at 3000 K Kelvin lighting. And natural light is 4000 K, or commercial lightings and everything, indoor residential lightings will be 4000 K. And offices will be at 6000 K. And these are all the private projects where we have gone through with multiple companies and multiple applications, where the client end users, depending upon their requirement and their taste. And if you see in this, you can find magnetic tracks in the ceiling and decorative lights. And at the curtains, there is a curtain grazer. So these are all the down lights are there. And this is entrance of a private residence, where a complete wall has been enhanced with wall washer. It's an bare sign. It creates a bare sign. It will be a complete outlook. It will be a different, and it will be enhance the lighting of the wall. And this is another project in residence. If you look into the upper shelf, you will see a cove lighting, which is used by the Divinity company, and magnetic tracks, spikes. Instead of normal downlighters, we have used here spikes, which is a dotted COBs with 4 spikes. And this is another private residence in DD colony, where that depend upon the taste of the customer. We use the linears in different rooms in the different formations. If you see here, it's X shape, a Z shape, and rectangular shape. And these are all the different linears being used. And this is one of the walk set, close set wardrobe area. Normally, wardrobe area is much lighting was not been there earlier. Nowadays, the client's taste has been different from earlier to this year. So in wardrobe area, we use the surface linears, which will throw the uniform light towards the complete walking area. And this is another residential area, which is decorative on the walls, lightings, and the linears in this ceiling. This is another one in Lodha Apartments. This is a private residence where, if you see into the vertical lights, normally horizontal lights will be more rather than vertical. Verticals were not being used earlier because of the glareness, the harshness of the light will fall on the eyes, so it will be not so healthy on the conditions. But here, with anti-glare linear lightings, we have made a cove in the lift lobby and the ceilings also, which is in soft lighting, which is in gareless, and which will not affect your eyes. The baffle ceiling, which runs through the ceiling and to the wall also. It's another model. And commercials, electronics mart showroom at SR Nagar with the linears, different kinds of formation. And this is an entrance lobby of Raheja Mindspace with hexagon formation of linears, customized. This is boardroom linear, which is an echoistic installation has happened, so there won't be any echo in the room also. These are all the commercial spaces. If you look into the commercial spaces, here in the middle of the picture, you will not find the sources of the light, but you can feel the illusion of the light on the floor. So anti-glare downlighters has been used in this project. And these are all the linears at Film Nagar. It's road number 25 with the linears. Conference hall at the private office. It's another set of private office. It's an IT park. It's a round shape, different IT park, which is a customized linears being used for this IT park. So happy to share you that Ved Electricals having a hands-on on different IT projects like Google, LTI, ZF, which has been recently built in financial district. So these are all the different, as per the aspirations of the clients, different shapes of the linears in the offices. This is outdoor steps lighting. It's an cove light. So this is also cove light for the entire outdoor applications, enhancing the complete building. The beauty of the building will be enhanced. These are the garden lightings, which will enlight the greenery of the garden. So that's it. Thanks and wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kasinath. It was indeed a very thoughtful presentation, which was not talking only about Ved Electricals per se, but it was talking about how it has been applied both in the interiors and the exteriors. I would now request our Honorary Secretary, IIID HRC. Oh, I'm sorry, I cannot. Achha, we'll felicitate him after a while. He has just gone out. Okay. Okay, fine. To take this forward, we have the second speaker for the evening. How many of you are JNFU students? Can you please raise your hand? And how many of you are aware of the second set of speakers who are here? None? Now, this was not expected. There's only a couple of them, 2, 3 of you. Okay, fine. Now they will know. Actually, when Kavita ma'am was also speaking, she said that it's nice to see JNFU alumni to be back here to be presenting. So this is where we have the second set of speakers. Architect Srikanth Reddy and Architect Nilesh Kumar. For the, okay, fine. Now this truly deserves it because JNFU auditorium, JNFU alumni, JNFU students at the max. So what else can they ask for actually to actually give away a presentation of this kind? They have co-founded 23-degree Design Shift in the year 2010. They are both graduates from SPA, JNTU SPA in the year 2006. Srikanth Reddy went on to do his further architectural practice in Sridhar Reddy Associates and Amiya Design Private Limited. And that was from 2006 to 2010. And architect Nilesh Kumar went on to work with Kakani Associates from 2006 to 2010. They came together in the year 2010 to set up their firm, which is known as the 23-degree Design Shift. And there's no looking back henceforth, they have been just working. I'm sure many of you have heard of Broadway. How many of you have? Fat Pigeon? I'm sure everybody will raise your hand. Now, you have with you, actually, it's with immense pride. I welcome both of you, Architect Srikanth Reddy and Architect Nilesh Kumar, to please come forward and share your journey with the students here. And I'm sure everybody can relate to, because they have passed in the recent times, they are alumni of this college, and the way they have taken their journey forward.
Hello, everyone. Hi. Myself, I am Srikanth, and this is Nilesh, my partner. I was a little worried before I came here that I'd see a lot of my professors here. To present in front of them would be a task. That I see very little people now. I'm relieved. It doesn't feel like a jury now. We are from the same college. We were amongst you a couple of years back listening to speakers coming here, but this feels good to be on this side and talking in the same auditorium. We are called 23 Degrees Design Shift. Yeah, we named our firm 23 Degrees Design Shift, and if you're curious why we put that name, we have basically wanted to root our practice in the context, aligned to the context. And we were looking for how to represent this in terms of a name, and there can't be a bigger context than the planet on which we live in. So it's a metaphorical way to say, or it's a very indirect way to say that we are aligned to context, we are aligned to nature. The axis of the globe, Earth, is tilted by 23 degrees. It's actually tilted by certain 23 point certain decimals. We named it 23 Degrees Design Shift in the same lines. So that discrepancy of 0.5 degrees is the mistakes that we commit in our projects. That's a tolerance we have. Yeah, so go on. We consider ourselves to be a very young practice because in human years, we started off in 2010, so now we are 12 years old. We are not even teenagers, technically. So we can call ourselves to be a young practice. Being called as young practice also gives us a little bit of leverage in experimenting, failing, and committing mistakes. It is still accepted. It's a great chance to be a young practice. We want to stay young in practice. In terms of a philosophy, for the way we started off and the way we are taking our practice forward, context has been the center of our ideation process. We have been working around it since 12 years, and we are getting better in that direction. But to tell that this is the to tell in concrete terms that this is a philosophy, we are still not yet there. So we're still formulating. It is under construction for us, the philosophy of practice. Yeah. You want to?
Yeah, hi. So I'll just continue what Srikanth was talking about, that we rooted ourselves towards a context where we started to not going to a style, not defining ourselves that this is what the style what we are working with, but to make it more easier for us to work, we started clinging on to context. That is the first priority. That is the first thing what we look at every project. So first is the context, and as you can see is the inspiration and clues. So the context is what we have. The context might be the site, what the site gives it to us. The context can be the client who gives us a certain a program to us. The context can be budget. So the context can also be vastu, what we are trying to put in there, that we take as a limitation. We put the context in place and then see what is the inspiration, what we can take it, try to put it into a physical form. So that's where is the inspiration, what we look around. So what we think is a design, that we are designing something which is totally not there, it is never there. So it is everything what you design exists in some other way. It's only the way how you look at it. So that is what the inspiration and the clues what we take it. We take it from nature, we take it from the history, what we have done, what they have done earlier. We take it from graphics, we take it from a construction technique. That's where we put context and the inspiration together and start ideating. So what is needed for that particular project and which is the right thing for that particular project is what we have come with an idea. So that becomes a guideline for the whole design process of ours. So if you can see it, so in these images, if you can see the origami as an art, so that was one inspiration, that was the clue what we have gotten, and then that is the space what we have defined with that particular clue. So that was an Asian restaurant. So every Asian restaurant, so they start with a color red. So if you see a Chinese restaurant, it is red, what you generally see it. You have red lanterns hanging. But we took that as a different idea, where we took origami as an art, which is that particular art we took in, and we added a small legend to it, and then the whole installation was done for the restaurant. So the tropical one area where we wanted to do a tropical restaurant and a bar. So if you see the greens, the coconut trees were there existing on the site. This is in Hyderabad, what you can see. So the coconut trees which are there, so it is more tropical. So every material which has gone into it, every construction technique which has gone into it, that's a context what we had, and we started ideating towards it. So this is a Telugu restaurant, what they wanted to come up with. So every Telugu restaurant, we had took every arts, craft, material, what we can find in both the Telugu states. So the muggu, what they put it in front of the houses, the color yellow, which is very auspicious for us, the brass work which is there all along, which is more auspicious to us, Kota stone and teak furniture. So this is the palette what we have chosen, so that roots the whole program in the context towards it. So that is another Chinese restaurant. So we have it's an Oriental restaurant. So the whole technique of how the bamboo construction used to happen. So it's that particular one detail. We took one detail, and the whole restaurant was developed on the same basis. So this is what we're talking about context. What is the inspiration? What we have taken? One single image can make an idea, and then the whole design can come up.
Go back. So in all these things, context can be defined in different ways. In the first one, it's an ancient handicrafts in all of the Asian countries, which is origami. So when we are trying to do Asian restaurant, we try to take clue from it, improvised it, and did a large installation. In the second one, the context is the site for us, beyond other than the brief by the client. So sometimes it is the handicraft, sometimes it is the site, sometimes it is the cultural, like the third one, the Telugu food restaurants. It's art and culture of a particular region. Sometimes it is construction detail. So we derive clues from anything and everything that is associated with the project. So for us, the ideas doesn't drop in from nowhere. It is a process of understanding what client told us, understanding what site is telling us, put them down on a paper, list them down, and process them, think over them, talk over. We sit as a team and debate and discuss about all these points, and then we arrive at what to do and how to do.
The other thing is, when you're talking about a context which is a total, every space, every context is totally very different, that helps us to come up with a different design, different idea. We are not repeating what we want to do. There is no preconceived thought that you come with a program and you start designing with a preconceived idea or a preconceived thought or preconceived design. So the context drives us towards the design. So once you follow it, the end product as a design comes automatically.
So both of us, we come from small towns. We're not brought up in Hyderabad, so we don't know anybody here. We came here to study architecture in the same college. So after we passed out, we worked for some time in other offices. But when we got back together to start a practice, we didn't know anyone who can give us a project, other than few relatives of Nilesh or few known friends of mine who wanted us to do small jobs. Somebody asked us to execute their house, which is already designed. Somebody asked us to do a small toilet or a staircase or things like that. So when you're nobody in town and you want to set up your practice, you obviously get small time residential exercises to practice. So we started off in 2010 with a lot of residential projects. We've continued working on residential projects in terms of interiors or little architectural detailing for about four odd years. And then one day we decided that we want to get into the other genres of work because residential projects were giving us certain limitations. The Vastu guy he is more or less an architect. He decided the plan. And the client was more or less a decorator. They decide what color they want, what textures they want, because they Google them. And we just are keeping things together and doing up projects. And at one point we questioned ourselves, are we really designing or